Hello, everyone. It's Lindsay Landry, and we are here for the Make a Splash Summer Bash. And today I have a fabulous guest and one of my soul sisters who I adore, who I invited to have this conversation with me, Natalie Rose Martin. Um, I'm really so excited to introduce her to all of you and to have this conversation. Natalie, she calls herself the modern Magdalene, and she is a transformational healer for sexuality, for really coming back into your feminine power and also relationships. And one of the reasons that I invited her here is the past really, I guess the past 6 months, I've been deep in my own layer of healing around freeing myself from these limiting containers that I've put myself in my business. And, it's like as we develop as entrepreneurs, we can put ourselves in these boxes of labels or of trying to be something. And I really found myself at wanting to dissolve and to really step into and embody just who I am at this deeper level. And in doing that, I started to heal lots of my own root chakra and sacral chakra and pieces around sexuality and power, right? And it was such a powerful time of transformation for me. And through that, my business started to go into a deeper place and more passion started to ignite for me. And so with that, I felt like this was a super juicy and important conversation to have. And so I asked Natalie if she would be willing to be a guest, and she said yes. So welcome, Natalie. I'm super excited to have you here.
Yeah, thank you, Lindsay. Thank you for inviting me and for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation with you.
So I'd love for you to just do a little intro of yourself and maybe share a little about yourself and how you've gotten to where you are in your journey.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, thank you. So I love that you mentioned the like dissolving of the boxes or identities, because that is just a continuous part of my process as well.
Mm-hmm.
I am primarily an energy healer, an energy worker, and I have been trained in a lot of modalities of energy work. And through that process of healing myself, through learning all of these practices, discovered the identity of sacred sexual priestess, which I was really connected with for a while. And is a really useful label. Like there's some information available there, like about what I do. Right. And then over the past 6 months, the identity of priestess actually became sort of burdensome and limiting of my experience. And I've been shedding that. So, yeah, my website is Modern Magdalene, and there I give a description of what I mean by Magdalene and what I mean by priestess, and those descriptions are still totally relevant. Like I describe a priestess as a person, a woman who helps others connect with themselves as God, and that is still totally what I do. But the identity of that label became weighty in a way that wasn't pleasing anymore. So. So I've been playing with words and titles, and sometimes I think of myself as a yoni whisperer. I do in-person, hands-on sexual healing work with women, and it's really like that's what I'm doing is yoni whispering. And also this title, Cosmic Pussy Portal Emissary, I'm really tickled about right now, because emissary. And I love this word. An emissary is a person who's sent on a special mission of a diplomatic nature. I love this like covert mission to sit at the edge of the void, at the portal of the mystery with women, and allow them to experience the revelation of their own mystery and power for themselves.
Totally. I love that you're saying this, because I just want to say, like, I can totally, like I told you before this conversation, I was like, this is going to be a little edgy for me to be
Mm-hmm.
hosting this conversation, because it is a stretch of my own comfort zone, and it's so, so important. So I just want to first say, like, if anyone's listening and if you're getting like a little wiggly or like uncomfortable, like, stay with us. And what I just want to share is, I know for myself, so like what you're saying, and as I went into healing my own, I remember even just a couple months ago in the program we were in, when they started using the word pussy, I was like, I don't know if I want to listen to this conversation, right? But it's like,
Mm-hmm.
it there is so much to the you said, this mystery, right? It's like where we hold so much mystery about ourselves. And often when it
Mm-hmm.
is shamed, or when it's made wrong, or when we like close that portal to ourselves, right? Like, oh, I'm going to hide that. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to go there. It's like we're also closing off all of these parts of ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah. And, you can access the mysteries of the womb directly from your inner awareness, right? You can just take your
Mm-hmm.
awareness into the womb space, and um, especially when you're being guided by someone who is experienced exploring that terrain, but totally on your own is, I mean, I would just recommend for everyone to start tuning into that space. And I was really focused on that for a long time, like womb clearing and womb work, and the portal, the portal to the universe that the womb is. I mean, this is where souls actually enter a body, in the womb. That's where that happens. There is absolutely a portal to the absolute in the
Mm-hmm.
womb, and that's all very beautiful and fruitful work for sure. And the pussy is the portal to the womb. So there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of territory there as well. And on top of all of that, just beauty that is inherently ours to explore and discover, female sexuality has been totally manipulated, repressed, and oppressed in our culture for thousands and thousands of years. So we have a lot of reclaiming to do around just the innate power of our own pleasure and our own desire, and in the space of the yoni itself. So.
Yes, I love it. And I know for myself, it's like, as I have begun to open and, you know, allow myself to explore that space and even these conversations more, right? The energetics of it. So it's like I'm noticing new creative energy flowing in my business. I'm noticing, I was having this conversation, I think in another training I did today somewhere, where,
Mhm.
my nature, like I'm returning more to my natural nature, right? Which for me is like flow and expansion. And there's a way that, we can um, get lost in like needing to do things or needing to be a certain thing. But it's like when we can actually just connect back to what we are, right? And to this portal of energy, right? That um, is, like you said, it's like receiving the creation, but it's also giving birth to the creation. What I've noticed is like things happen so much easier for me. So in my business too. So it's like this is also a portal for people to um, heal their relationships, but heal their creativity, to heal their passion, to heal all of these different areas of their lives.
Mm-hmm. Totally. The sacral chakra is the creativity center,
Mm-hmm.
and you can create, babies there, but there's a lot more to create, right? Through this space for sure.
I love it.
Mhm.
And so, do you want to just tell us maybe a little bit of how you've gotten here? Like, what led you to this specific work, or even to deepening your practice of this work?
Mm. Okay. So when I was young, I was like 14 or 15 when I started reading sexology books. And I was like, there was a point where I was like, I'm going to be a sexologist. And then my path did not lead me to university. So I didn't avail myself of that particular opportunity. And then I started studying herbs in my early 20s. So medicinal herbs, plant medicine. And that was sort of my entry into healing. And I studied herbs for years and was like sure that my path was clinical herbalism. When I finally did my clinical herbalism program, which was actually after I had done my energy healing program, and I went to a midwifery intensive, a quantum midwifery intensive, like spiritual midwifery, which I didn't attend that because I wanted to be a midwife of babies, but because of the spiritual content of the program and the teacher and the women that were involved. So both of those programs lit things up in me, right, around being with women. I learned my first like energetic yoni clearing practice in that first energy school. And but then after all that, I still thought clinical herbalism was the thing. And I went to my clinical herbalism program and actually focused on women's reproductive health in that. And then at the end of that, I was like, oh my goddess, like all of this time and energy and huge apothecary and thousands of dollars. And like, I don't think I'm an herbalist, actually. I think I'm an energy healer. I can't imagine spending 2 hours asking somebody 1,000 questions and not doing some energy work with them. It's like I have this amazing tool basket, you know? So it was not long after that revelation that one of my sisters asked me to do some yoni clearing work with her. And it was a total activation. That also happened to be within the first 6 months of meeting my twin flame, which was also a total activation. I had a lot of activations around sexual healing through meeting and becoming involved with him. And then a year after that initiation into doing yoni work with another sister here, I had a shamanic womb clearing experience that was like a miscarriage that wasn't happening, turned into an abortion gone wrong, turned into my womb full of clots for a month, and like all of this pain and really intense situation. And as that was culminating, climaxing, and coming to an end, I realized that it was a shamanic initiation into womb clearing, which is a concept I was already familiar with and had been doing a little bit of emotional work around. So that really, catapulted me into like, okay, this is a thing and this is what I'm here to do. So I became just more and more focused over the years. And I did a lot of asking, like I offered myself to even like starting in that energy program. Like I didn't go to that program thinking I was going to end up being an energy healer for a career. Like I was just doing it for my own healing, but I just kept asking, like, what is my service? Like, what is it I'm here to bring through? And I would just get these breadcrumbs, and then I would have these activations, and because sex is such a taboo thing, of course there was plenty of resistance. Like, I don't know, is that really the thing? Shouldn't it just be relationships? And then it became definitely about yonis. And I was like, okay, well, it's definitely energy healing. And then the activation around doing the physical sacred touch hands-on work came. And I was like, are you kidding me? Okay. And then when I started doing that, it was like, yes, of course this, this is clearly a part of my path. And so, I range, like I work over the phone and, facilitate really powerful sessions for people that way. And also when we can get together in person, the women who are open to that have profound experiences. So there it is.
I'd love for you to say a little bit about like, because I can almost feel the question of like, well, when would someone need this, or where are they? Or like, like how would they know?
Yeah. Well, I think every single person who's come to work with me has heard me describe what I do or seen my website, and they resonate and they know. Yes. And, I've had I've had people come who had like womb stagnation and wanted to have a baby.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people come who aren't enjoying the sex life that they have in their marriage, or who have low libido and really want to have more of a sexual connection with their partner, but don't physically feel available for it or emotionally feel available for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one, actually. A lot of women come who are in a relationship with a man that they love, that really cares about them, that, and they just don't feel like having sex. And they're like, shit, like I want to, but I don't want to.
Totally.
So that's pretty common. Definitely have worked with some women who are single and wanting a partner. Being really tapped in and connected to your sexual and creative energy is really magnetic. So definitely facilitated some, meetings.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't facilitated the meetings, but I've definitely helped some women be ready, to meet their partners.
So I'd love to
Mm-hmm.
talk a little bit more about the people who are in relationships, because I had asked some questions in the group, my group, before we
Mm-hmm.
had this conversation. And this actually was a conversation. This was a question that came up a few times. So like the people who are in relationships and they're stressed and they're tired and, it's like life, right? So then your partner is usually the first person that you go into feeling like you want to push away, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
you want to blame because it's like they didn't do the dishes and now you have to do like all the things, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so then you do
Mm-hmm.
feel yourself like closing down or just like not feeling attracted or not feeling available, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so someone who's in this situation, like obviously they can have a session with you, right? But what
Mm-hmm.
is there anything that you want to say about this, or can we go into that a
Yes,
little bit more?
totally. Totally. First, before we do, I want to say that when I have the opportunity to work with men, like one of the things is like, okay, if you want to get laid more, like definitely do the dishes, definitely take the trash out. Like if she feels like there's a to-do list and the house is messy, she is not going to be able to find the time to relax. Okay. So just handle that. And then, yeah, that's really important. Okay. So the kind of basic life stuff of being busy and tired and having too much to do, which is sort of an epidemic in our country, feels to me like it's about priorities. So connection to self is the foundation of all of this, of the vitality, of the creativity, of the hot sex life. So prioritizing some self-care is huge, and time to connect with yourself. So whatever that looks like for you, it might be exercise, it might be meditation, it might be taking a bath 3 times a week. It might be walking in nature. It's different for everyone. It might be yoga. But just really making sure that you're carving that time and space out for yourself, and dropping in, like really using it to connect with yourself. That feels super important. I think a self-pleasure practice is important.
Mm-hmm.
And that can look different ways for different people who have different amounts of time. If you don't have very much time, like it might be a thing that you kind of squeeze in between other things. But I think it's really important to honor turn on. So when turn on arises, like you want to be like, yay, I'm turned on. Let's do something about it, or with it, or like experience it, right? Like expand it. Even if you don't get to the point of having an orgasm, like when turn on is present, like you don't just go, oh yeah, that would be nice. Like find a way to like put on a sexy outfit or walk in a way that feels more sensual, or any little thing that you can do to expand, to rest into that feeling and expand it and allow it to like grow instead of shutting it down and pushing it away. So connection with self is primary. And then making time. I mean, I know like this, everybody says this and it sounds so lame and boring, but like actually making sex dates with your partner is a big one, because you know, you can get into the rut or the routine of like either not having sex or having sex in a particular way at a particular time on a particular night of the week or whatever. And then it becomes routine and boring. But if you schedule a couple of hours, then there's more time for actually exploring sensuality, connection, sensuality, and like experimentation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for busy people, prioritizing scheduling is really important.
Totally. And so two things are coming forward too that maybe just for you to talk about or go deeper into. So the first thing that came
Mm-hmm.
forward is like feelings, right? Because you
Mm-hmm.
talked about like notice how you're feeling and like allow yourself to go into the feeling and experience the feeling. And I know sometimes when I'm working with clients, especially those that are very driven in their business and they're great at strategizing and planning and like holding all the shit together, right? And so in that, sometimes we hold our feelings together or we disassociate from those pleasure feelings of like actually allowing ourselves to feel what we do need or what we do want. I don't know if there's anything that you want to say about that.
Yeah, well, I want to name that pattern is a distorted masculine pattern, and that pattern is responsible for the, you know, adrenal fatigue of the nation,
Mm-hmm.
like overworking, underpleased kind of epidemic that we are experiencing as a collective. And so really tuning into the feeling self and allowing space for that is inviting the divine feminine more forward. And as the divine feminine comes more forward, like the whole collective gets to shift into a more easeful way of life. I mean, that's another thing I want to say about maintaining connection and like having a hot sex life is if there's any way you can become less busy, that will really help.
Mm-hmm.
Having spaciousness is what allows turn on to arise spontaneously, in my experience.
And so what I know too is like sometimes what'll happen in these relationships, and this has happened for clients that I've worked with, I've experienced it personally. So when we are really focused, you know, on say growing a specific, I'm just wanting to put this into some physical imagery for people. So like if we're really focused on say growing our business or a launch or, you know, doing something that's really important to us, right? Our business sort of becomes like our focus, our like headlight, right? And so in that, then you talked about like the distorted masculine. So when we are in our distorted masculine as feminine, then what happens for men is they actually go into their wounded masculine, right?
Yeah, or sometimes they're wounded feminine.
Right, where they're not feeling good
Which
enough
is, you're
or
not paying any attention to me.
totally. And it gets,
Yeah.
so do you want to talk about that a little bit? Because I think it's such an important, like it's a real important
Yeah.
conversation. Because I know for me, even from the beginning of my business, like it was like this double-edged sword for me in my relationship because I was even afraid to grow my business at one point because I literally felt like, you know, I would start to take a step forward and it was like, then James was like pulling into, I was moving forward in my masculine, right? So then he's like going into this other energy and it like literally felt like I was having to work so hard, right? And like, for a long time, that was like my upper limit.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I mean, I think the thing that's coming forward is I think the balance is important. So like as you are activating your masculine, and it doesn't have to be, it's distorted when it's leaving out the feminine.
Mm-hmm.
It's distorted when it's like the goal at any cost and everything else doesn't matter while I'm doing this thing. That's the distortion. So you want to have balance. So like, yes, move forward in your business and make time to be in your feminine or allow yourself to be in your feminine and let the masculine, your inner masculine, like move your feminine
Yes.
vessel forward in the process. if that
That's
makes
like the
sense.
ultimate juiciness, right? Like letting our
Yeah.
feminine actually inform our divine masculine, the
Yeah.
structure.
Yes. 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 Easier said than done,
Totally.
given our current circumstances and our conditioning. However, yes, that is the ticket, I think, is the balancing and including the feminine, and even letting the feminine be the foundation.
hmm Yeah, I love that. And it's like what I've noticed for myself is the more that I am balancing these two parts of myself, the more space it gives James to actually grow into himself, right? So to
Mm-hmm.
leave the woundedness and to
Mm-hmm.
step into more of his own essence, the more of who he
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Including the feminine and becoming the divine masculine.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful.
hmm Yeah. So, another question that I got from a few of the ladies is around this. There's a way that maybe when we're younger, or this specific question was, she used to be the seductress in her relationships. She was super passionate and like flirty and like that feminine energy drawing in, right? And then now she notices herself after her child, she notices herself in a different place. And so not that it's a bad place, but it's different. And so she was wondering, like, is it because she shut down this part of herself, or is it that she's like taking off a mask, and what is this? And I think many women probably feel this at some point, of where it's like they were a certain way and now they're feeling something different. So like, what is this?
Yeah. Yeah. I hear that. I want to start by saying it's probably a different source for different people. There's a variety of answers to this question. So not to like blanket plate say that this is a thing,
Mm-hmm.
that this is the thing that happens for people. But I mean, I've been witnessing my own evolution, my own sexual evolution over the past, God, I don't know, 20, 25 years. Um, and I can relate to that, and a couple of things that come up are around shedding distorted feminine tendencies around, because seduction includes an element of manipulation, and like, to be totally gentle, like we are all trained to do this, right? Like the media that we're surrounded by is training us
Mm-hmm.
to be seductive and sexy in a particular way, or that sexy looks a particular way, right?
Or even
And
even on like a basic level, like, I'm going to take care of you and cook for you and do this thing for you. Like, even that, right? It doesn't even have to be like
mm-hmm,
the whole sexual thing, but even on the basic
mm-hmm.
level, it's still that same, it could be the same
Yeah,
woundedness.
yes, there's some element of like, um, I will do a thing for you, or a promise of a thing to
Mm-hmm.
draw in. And so, I think as that gets expressed and integrated, and especially as one becomes a mother, like that, it's not important anymore. And what becomes more important is the deeper resting into the divine feminine. And not that the divine feminine can't be seductive, but it's more magnetic than manipulative. That's the difference. So if you find yourself reaching out
Mm.
to like swirl some magic around, like, just notice that, and then notice the difference between that and resting back in and magnetizing.
I love that you said that, the reaching out versus the leaning in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it's all an evolution, and it's fun to be flirty and
Mm.
seductive. Like, it's not, it's not wrong or bad. It's just, it makes sense to me that those tendencies fade with evolution and age and increased self-esteem.
Totally. And what I'm thinking too is like, I'm just thinking of it as like in a business sense as well. So it's like we can even
Mm.
come towards business with like that seductive energy, right? Where we're like reaching out and we're doing a thing and we're like trying to get attention
Mm-hmm.
and like we're wanting to get clients. Like it's fucking exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's fun for
Mm-hmm.
a little
And
while and then you're like, fuck, I'm tired.
ugh,
I actually
yeah.
want to do the thing and I'm like, kind of pissed off that they're not joining me after I did all this stuff.
Yeah.
They're like,
Yep.
getting all this stuff for free and now they don't want to pay me or like, now I'm not getting the energy. So it kind of can turn into that too, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So that resting back and in letting the softness of the divine mother like cradle you into um, the more receptive place just feels like the evolution that's
Mm.
available. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to just invite everyone to like breathe into that because I can just feel this like softness and this almost like a warm hug, you know?
Yeah.
So just inviting them to actually have an experience of what that might feel like for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can bring your attention to the backs of your legs and your hips and your butt and lower back, like the sacrum, the whole cradle of the pelvic bowl, and the back of the heart.
I can almost feel how there's like almost like this wanting to just like curl and cry, like this super
Yeah.
softness, this vulnerability.
Well, we've all been trying so hard.
Like, oh, I can rest.
You know? Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to say one more thing about that seductive energy. It's like from this place of being supported and resourced and um, held, is there a playful energy that's available? I
Mm.
mean, maybe there's not because maybe you're really tired, but there, it's like seduction can turn into through this process of evolution into more of an innocent playfulness. And that can be really, really rich and rewarding in relationship.
Mm. Yeah. So I'd love for you to talk more about that, more about play.
Play. Well, something, I mean, I've been really exploring this deeply lately because my North Node is in Leo and it's like really important for me to be playful. And I've been pretty serious a lot of my life. I mean,
Mhm.
I like to have a good time, but I've like studied a lot and like gotten into some serious work here, and the lighthearted playfulness is really important. And one of the keys, one of the primary pieces for that to happen is a feeling of safety. So, I mean, that's another to compare to seduction. Like it feels like seduction. With seduction, there's an element of threat or
Mhm.
risk,
Or even
and
control in a
for
way.
yep, totally. So for like an authentic, innocent playfulness to arise, there needs to be a foundation of safety, which is available in a lot of long-term committed relationships, right?
Mhm.
So going from the like, I'm not sure if you're going to be mine or not, but I want you to be, and don't you want to come pay attention to me, seduction, to like landing in a long-term committed relationship. The safety often is a part of what kind of turns people down. It turns them off. They're like, oh, well, now we're together and we're comfortable and it's real safe here, so I'm just going to relax and like stop trying. That's kind of, but what's available there from that place of safety is actually more exploration and innocent playfulness.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, it's an edge for me too. It's like a growing edge for me. So I just would encourage everyone to experiment with that, play with it. What does playfulness look like? Like if you were to just sit still for a moment and close your eyes and bring playfulness into your space, like how does that feel in your body? Are there sounds that you hear in your mind or sounds that want to come out of your throat? Are there little, like what happens for me is like, even if I'm sitting perfectly still, I'm experiencing like wiggling inside,
Mm-hmm.
wiggling and squealing.
That's what I noticed. I'm like wanting to like shake in my chair.
Totally. Totally.
And laugh,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Yes. And sex is grown up play. Like that is how we get to play. And play is really important
Mm-hmm.
for creating joy in our lives. So if you have safety in your relationship and you have, overwork and stress and all of those things, like see how much time what can you eliminate? How much time can you carve out to really land in the safety that you have and start exploring playfulness?
And
That's a gift that, isn't available to everyone who's not in a committed long-term relationship.
this feels like something to bring forward too, because um okay, so someone can have safety in their relationship, but maybe they're not feeling safe in their business or at their job
Mm,
or in XYZ area, right? Just insert.
totally.
So like how can they use their relationship to actually create safety for these other areas, right? Because energy is everything. And so it's like when we can tap into the safety in one area, we actually can start to magnetize, right? That safety.
More
Or
safety.
yeah. So do you
Yeah.
want to maybe
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that? It's really like a
Yeah.
mindset set shift, right? Like we have to start almost creating that space.
Right. Well, it feels like just a noticing, like when you're with your partner and you have that feeling of safety, what does that feel like in your body? How do you know? I feel it in my legs a lot. Like if there's like a lot of activity in my abdomen and none in my legs, then I'm like, okay, I would like some energy to go down into my legs to like ground whatever this activity is, whether it's excitement or fear or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's how I experience safety is like, oh, I feel my legs. I feel my feet on the floor. There's energy moving down through my legs. I didn't always have that experience. There were a lot of years where I didn't feel anything in my legs. But that's how I know now. And like a slow, steady heartbeat, that's a really good indication. And so I think just remembering to have the experience of safety, to like notice the experience of safety that you're having while you're having it, and then maybe even hold that in your awareness with the not so safe circumstance, like your business or job or whatever it is, and just watch, notice what happens there. And then, at times when you're involved in the not so safe circumstance and you can remember to like introduce the template of safety that you have from your relationship into that space and hold the two and watch and just notice.
Mm-hmm.
that those kind of mindfulness and self-awareness practices are hugely impactful and useful.
Yes. I love it. So I feel like we could probably go on and on and on.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much, right? There's so many layers, and there's so this is like a portal for so much healing.
Yeah.
But is there any last things that you want to really just maybe add to this
Mm.
conversation or leave for our listeners?
Yeah. There are a couple more things I want to say about trauma and unprocessed emotion
Mm-hmm.
are major blockages to having full, free expression of creative energy in all the ways. So if you know you have trauma in your past, or you know that you haven't been, expressing your feelings, or you suspect that maybe you're holding some emotional material for someone else, like a parent or a partner, like those are important things to look at to clear out of the space to allow the free flow of creative energy. And then finally, just because I'm super excited about it, I want to mention doing energy work at the DNA level, and been
Yes.
having some
Talk
pretty
about that.
profound experiences. Yeah, with well, I've been working with epigenetics, so and I'm not like a super scientist. Like I know anatomy and physiology pretty well, but I don't like know how to sequence DNA or anything. But in the energy just shows me, right? So I'll be taken to a place, often in time, and then to a place in the body at that time, and work with, there are these genetic switches on, like, above. Epigenetics means above the genetic material. So there are these switches on the DNA that get turned on or off by environmental circumstances, like um, emotional environment, nutrition,
Mm-hmm.
all of the things that we're exposed to in early life, and we work with the switch at that point in time, and create profound shifts that sometimes are subtle at first, but they grow over time. And then and I've been I'm just getting into the gene keys for myself. But it's like a map of the places in the DNA that need attention for our evolution, which is my ultimate goal, by the way, is like evolution of humanity and awakening of humanity, through liberating all of these aspects of the creative center. But it's powerful. Like, I had this experience this morning of working with my DNA helix and like replacing a piece that was missing, I was guided to by my gene key that I was working with. So I'm super excited about it. It feels, I mean, I know other people are doing this work. I'm not the only one doing energy work at the DNA level at all. But it feels really exciting and profound, and like there are big implications here. And we can actually, like, if there's like a lineage pattern,
Mm-hmm.
can clear that at different levels, right? We could clear that through the family lines, and also we could go straight to the genetic material if it's relevant, right?
That seems super
To
powerful,
rework that.
especially for when we do have like these conditioned patterns, right? That um, we're carrying like these patterns or this energy that isn't ours, and then it's affecting, our ability to open to joy or to pleasure or to passion or to healing, right? Even healing our body.
Yeah. Yes.
And so that seems
Mm-hmm.
super, super powerful.
Yeah, and when we choose to do lineage work, I'll just add this on here, it heals the whole lineage. So 7 generations backward and forward are receiving the benefit of the work that you do when you're clearing those patterns from your family, those family patterns. It's really big work. It's really important and valuable contribution.
So
this,
good.
exciting time on our planet.
Yes.
Shit's crazy. Mm-hmm.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I know personally for myself over the years of me doing this work and doing energy work and healing myself, I totally know that my family, I see it. I see my family shifting and healing. And as I work my own, relationship pieces, I see my mom's relationship changing or all the levels. So I
Yeah,
definitely believe in that.
that's so beautiful. It's
Yeah,
so cool. It's a nice confirmation for sure.
totally. Like, oh, this is doing something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I know. I have a friend who says, "Don't be surprised when it works." I love it. Don't be surprised when it works. Yep. Yep. Magic is real.
For real. Yes.
Hmm. Yeah.
So any last nuggets? Any last things that are coming forward that you want to share?
No, unless you have any more questions, I feel like so grateful to have had this conversation and to contribute to the lives of the people who will hear this. And yeah, I feel
Yeah,
great.
so just to kind of wrap it up, it's like it really starts with the knowing yourself, right? And being willing to come back to the questions and the curiosity and the willingness, right? The willingness to open and to create the space.
Yes. Yeah. Prioritizing connection to self will open up all of the pathways. Mm-hmm.
So good. So if people are wanting to connect with you, to learn more about you, to follow you, I know you do monthly calls. Can you share with them how they can do that?
Yes. So my website is modernmagdalene.com, and that's Magdalene without an E on the end. And so modernmagdalene.com. And you can sign up there to be on my newsletter. And if when I do calls, you will get a notice email. And I have actually removed myself from Facebook. I still have a profile, but the energy of Facebook was really not working for me. So that's not a great way to get in touch with me anymore. I can be messaged through Messenger, but there's also a way to send me an email or schedule a discovery session on my website if you want to connect and have a chat. That's the best way to do it. It's through the website, modernmagdalene.com.
Awesome. Beautiful. And thank you so
Yeah.
much for just having this conversation with me today. I feel like this is so potent and so evolutionary, right?
Yeah.
We're
Yay.
changing lives, literally,
That's what
souls,
we like.
by
Yes.
healing ourselves, our wombs and our portals.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And every female sexuality that's liberated is contributing to the liberation of feminine sexuality in the collective. So keep it up.
Yes, I love it. And if anybody
Mm-hmm.
is listening and you're
Mm-hmm.
not already signed up for the Make a Splash Bash, you can do that by going to my website, which I'll have it in the YouTube notes as well. I'll put both of our websites, but you can go to my website, lindsaylandry.com/make a splash. It has the hyphens in between each word. And that's where you can, get access to all of the conversation. So I love all of you. Join us in my Facebook group, Soul Inspired Success, where we will be having a conversation about continuing this energetic conversation. And I'd love to hear, what's moving through you. What is this activating for you? Let's talk about it and and connect. So I love all of you. And thank you again, Natalie.
Thank you, Lindsay.